Hello everyone, and welcome back. And so glad to have you join me today as we continue working on this Soulful Mediterranean Tranquility piece. So a fair amount of confetti in this section. It will not be boring, I think. So I hope all is going well in your world, that you've had no visits from the frog, as they say. Yeah, we use that term in knitting too, when you have to fix stuff and rip it out. I also liked in knitting when you had to go back a few stitches. We called it tinking, because that is knit backwards to tink. Yeah, pretty silly, huh? As my dad would say, very punny instead of very funny. Well, I think I got about almost 4 stripes knitted on my blanket while I was watching figure skating on the Olympics, so that's pretty cool. Just using up leftover bits of balls of yarn from other projects. I like to take colors that are, you know, complementary to each other, and then I just sort of lay them out on the floor until I find a configuration I like, and then I knit stripes from there. And the stripes are all random widths, because of course I knit until the yarn runs out. So yeah, it makes every blanket I make, even though it's the same pattern, makes every blanket a bit unique that way, which is pretty cool. So I'm working on one now that's shades of pink and white and cream. Even on ones that isn't a leftover, when I make it using that pattern, I go through and I wind all my yarn into balls first, so I can find all the, you know, the bad bits. You have to cut out the knots and the stuff in there, and then arrange them that way, so you still end up with random stripes, which I like. Even if they're all the same color, like I had one that was, you know, light blue, medium blue, navy blue, repeating over and over, but because the balls were random sizes, I still ended up with somewhat random stripes, which I thought looked pretty neat. Yeah, I made a lot of those blankets for when my son was in elementary school. His teacher would get one for Christmas every year. I stopped doing that in high school, because I mean, now he's got way too many teachers. There's no way I could keep up. I don't even know who I will give this latest blanket to. We'll see. Often they just, I finish them and they sit in my closet until I need a gift for someone, and then voila, it's already made. Also for the really teeny scraps that are, you know, still a small little ball, but not enough to really use in a blanket. I like to make these little yarn balls. They're about that big, and you stuff them, and they're really good for babies. Can't really hurt yourself on them, you know. Nice way to use up little scraps of yarn so they don't get wasted. My son, when he was little, he called them snowballs because we throw them around. So they're still called snowballs. It's funny, the things your kids come up with and then they stick forever. Pardon me. Carbonated water in our house is called bitey water because he drank it and said it was biting him back. So it stuck. Or our pet guinea pig, who you've heard in the background in other videos. She was a rescue that somebody dumped her in a parking lot in a box, and she escaped and was running all over the place. And so they called the police. Yeah, I know. Our police, I guess, don't have a lot to do here. But anyway, they called the police to catch her. And so we were trying to think of a name for her when we adopted her. And I said, well, why don't we call her Buster, because she was busted by the cops. And my son said, yeah, but that's a boy's name and she's a girl. And so as a total joke, I said, well, we could call her Miss Buster. And it stuck. He took me seriously, and she's been known as Miss Buster ever since. So. Yeah, she's an old girl now. I'm not sure how much longer we'll have her. They live about 6 to 8 years, and she is probably coming on to 8 now. We don't know exactly how old she is because she was a rescue, but we suspect she was around 1 when we got her, and that was almost 7 years ago. So yeah, we guess she's around 8. Yeah, and usually you need to keep at least 2 because they're generally social animals and they get very lonely if you have only 1, but ours is a loner. We tried getting her a companion and she wasn't having it. They just fought. So yeah, she's pretty content on her own, so we decided to just leave things that way. Occasionally she gets visits from other guinea pigs. We have friends who have them too, so sometimes they bring them over and they talk to each other from their respective cages. Because they have boys, and we don't want any guinea pig babies. Because yeah, they can breed like crazy, like rabbits, so... But yeah, I really like they're a really nice low maintenance pet, you know, as long as you keep their cage clean and keep them well fed, they're really happy. But you can also interact with them. You can play with them too. If you roll a ball for them, they'll chase it around sometimes and push it around and explore, so yeah, it's kind of a nice balance. You don't have to walk them or anything, but they do still interact with you. It was really sweet, actually. I had her out one time, and she walks up to me and puts her chin on my knee and purrs. Like, oh, this is so sweet. Like saying, coming over to say, I love you. Yeah, I didn't know that they purr before I had one, but they do when they're happy. But when we got her, she must have been quite neglected. She was very, very thin. You could feel all her ribs when you pet her. And she didn't purr for about the first month we had her. Now she purrs all the time when you pet her. And yeah, when we first got her, she was obviously very starving because she ate anything you gave her. Now that she's well fed, she's gotten a little pickier. Yeah, she's gotten a little spoiled. But that's okay. We don't mind, right? Yeah. I unthreaded my needle. Oh, geez. Now I'm shredding it. Hate when that happens. Yeah, had to trim it and start with a new edge. It was just too raggedy. Okay, let's see what I want to do here. How long is this piece? So that's a fairly long piece. Okay, so first I want to do the stuff that is to the left of it so I don't close anything in as usual. You can see I may have to go to the left a fair amount. Yeah, and work my way back up. So yeah, I'm not always working top down, just from the left, upper left down towards the lower right. In whatever color makes the most sense to me at the time. My biggest guideline is I try to keep from closing in stitches. So I do the stitches that are above and to the left before I do the stuff that is below and to the right. Now just making sure I put this in the right space. 30 to right above that 210 stitch line, yes. I work in multiples of 6, so I know where. So I know this latest section ends at row 240. So this is my 4th pass across. And I have 3 more horizontal passes to go before I am done. I can see I may have to reset and unthread some needles here. Yeah, I've got quite a few. In fact, usually before I start a Stitch With Me session, I go through, unthread everything, untangle all my parked threads before I start, but I forgot to do that today, so you're going to get to see me do it now. I like to try to keep about a maximum of 8 to 10 needles on threads, because more than that, it starts to cause problems and ends up costing me more time than it might save by not having to rethread. Yeah, so you can see I'm a bit A little bit tangled here, but I think we can figure it out. Okay, that one. These two have quite... Let's take a look here. There. Okay, so I'm going to go through, just going to carefully separate these. There we go. And I will start again with my needles. Again, not having luck today. There we are. Okay, I have quite a few of these yellow parked. So check the lengths, decide what to do with them. Yeah, that's not very long. This one is longer. Okay, so this second one that I pulled up here, I think I'm going to end it off because there's nothing really that close. And it's a shorter piece, so, oh dear. My goodness, I really am not having luck today with my threading. Okay. As always, when you're trying to show people, can't do even the simplest stuff, right? The things you don't even think about and can do automatically. Suddenly, you just can't do them. Oh, I mentioned in other videos that I took piano lessons for quite a while, and I remember this one time, it was during a competition, and one of my friends she had the same piano teacher as me, so we'd hung out while waiting for our lesson a few times, and oh, she had one of those she had the piece memorized and everything, had played it, 1,000 times before, but suddenly it just disappeared. And she just got stuck playing this passage over and over, trying to get to the next part, and just could not remember how to do the next thing. And of course, the harder you try, the harder it gets, right? The more you panic. And finally, the adjudicator had to come up and bring her music. I felt so bad for her. Because, I mean, we've all had that happen, but when it's on stage, right, and everyone's staring at you, oh, it's just mortifying. And no second takes either. Yeah, I've had that happen a few times when it's just, I can't remember, even though it's a piece I've played so many times. I should be able to play it in my sleep, but suddenly I forget. And usually what I have to do is take a break, play something else, or walk away for a few minutes, come back, and then it's there again in the muscle memory, right? But, yeah, the harder you try to force it, it's like trying to grab smoke, right? It just dissipates. And there we go again. I'm gonna have a lot of little trimmed ends to clean up after our session today. Usually I try to be good and put them in my little little jar that I keep. And then when it fills up, I just chuck them. Oh, there is a knot. Ah, on the other side, yeah. Feel that. So let's fix it. Okay. There we go. Yeah, I find one benefit with stitching two-handed too is I can feel with my fingers immediately when there's an, oh my gosh, you are being a pest today. When I stitched one-handed, so my right hand was going, you know, back and forth from above to below and back again, I often did not catch knots until I was going to finish off the thread, and I would turn my work, because that of course was when I still turned my work all the time, and I would see a huge snarl and you have to, you know, rip back 20 stitches. That sucks. And so yeah, that's one benefit I found with two-handed stitching, because I'm feeling along with the hand underneath. Generally I catch knots right away, so I can fix them before they cause more issues. All right, that was a really short piece, so I don't know if we're going to park this or not. I'm thinking no. Yeah, one stitch is all I'm going to get out of that. Okay, so now I've successfully worked my way back up to that H symbol as I was trying to. I've done everything that's above and to the left. So now I can carry on. Yeah, so coming out of these paler colors, and it's going to be mostly dark colors for the next while, as it's all trees and then the pillars. Not much sky. So then I'll go through my working tray and put a bunch away that I won't be using until I get to another section with sky on another pass. Yeah, as my working tray's only got about 18 slots, and this this pattern uses over 80 colors, I believe. Yeah, I've seen people do the max color ones from Heaven and Earth Designs. I would not want to work with that many colors. 240. Ugh. They do look nice, but I don't know, maybe I'm slightly colorblind compared to some other people, and I don't really see as much of a difference as they do. So for me, that amount of confetti is just not worth it, but hats off to those who do. Especially the supersize ones. Now that is a big commitment, because they're like almost 1,000 stitches on one side, like $9.99 by like 700. So yeah, that's a lot. I do have a piece planned, one that I actually charted myself, of a firefly, and it's like 600 by 910, so it's over 500,000 stitches. That's going to be a big one. And that, instead of working on 14 count like I am right now, I'm doing that on 18 count, because I mean, it's just not feasible to do on 14 count. 1,000 is just too much. Can't get a piece of cloth that big very easily. even with my bold. Although I do have some Thomas Kincaid ones that are pretty big. One of them's almost 400,000 stitches, and one of them is over 350,000 stitches. Yeah, when I saw Heaven and Earth had gotten licensing to do Thomas Kincaid art, I said, oh no, now I'm never going to get through my stash. Because yeah, I really like a lot of his stuff. So I have two of his planned in the future. Twilight Cottage, which I really love the color palette on it because it's well, twilight, and it's like purpley and blue, which are my favorites. And then one that's called Sunset on Lamplight Lane, I believe. That one's got more browns in it, but it's also very pretty. Yeah, I like blue so much that when I was still knitting sweaters a lot more, almost everything was blue, and I knit one in red. My sister-in-law joked, so did you make a mistake? Grab the wrong yarn? Because I think that was the first one I'd made that wasn't blue, some form of blue. Come on, there we go. So I like knitting when I'm more tired and need a more mindless thing to work on, or it's a bit more portable than a cross stitch. Although I do plan to eventually, there's a sit-on stand on Etsy I've been eyeing for a while, so that I could have a second portable project for when we eventually start going places again. Yeah, we haven't much because of this pandemic, but one day, right? One day, we hope. Lots of color changing today. It is certainly not boring. Yeah, I think this is the most difficult piece I have made so far. It's not the biggest, but it has a lot of detail and very few areas that is background and not very many colors, so yeah, it's been challenging but rewarding. I'm really loving watching this come to life. And I have to say too, the mock-up on the Artecy website did not do this justice. The details and the vibrancy of the colors of the stitched piece versus the mock-up are just, yeah, amazing. I mean, the mock-up was gorgeous, obviously. That's what drew me to it. It was so pretty, but yeah, I'm really, really happy with how it's stitching up. It is really, really beautiful. And I'm glad I decided to go for the large version, because these details are incredible. Could hear that knot. There we go. That snarl popping through the fabric. just untangle it before it becomes a bigger problem. Okay, so this one I think is going to be ended off after I do these 2 stitches, yeah. As this is a shorter piece. There we go. So yeah, I'm still gridding up the fabric for that big Firefly, the TV show, Firefly project, and it is so big. It goes across my entire love seat, so yeah, it's definitely gonna have to clear a big space on my wall for hanging it. I think I got a lot of framed family photos, but I think I'm gonna end up maybe getting one of those digital ones that's like a slideshow, and putting all the photos on a memory card in that, so then I can have the all the wall space for all the projects I have planned, because I have quite a few. Yeah, including this one. I think I've got, let me think, 8 to 10. I have to look again, but let's see, because there's the peacock one, Marvelous Gardens, that's 1. And then there's Deer Creek, which is another, so that's 2. And I got one that's, can't remember the name of it, but it's a Family of Wolves, so that's 3. I've got the 2 by Thomas Kincaid, so that's 4 and 5. I've got two Legend of Zelda ones, so that's what, 7, and then I have the Firefly one, so yeah, that's 8. So yeah, I have a lot to keep me busy. And took me over a year, but I have all the threads I need for it now. It took me over a year of saving up to buy them. I actually went and made a Excel spreadsheet because I'm a nerd. I like Excel spreadsheets. I went through and added up all the stitch counts from all of the projects I have planned together to figure out exactly how much I needed of each color. So that's how I ended up investing in a cone of floss, because the black, I think, added up to close to 300,000 stitches. So yeah, and I get about 1,500 per skin. So let's make sure I'm in the right spot. Yes, I am. Okay. 1,500 per skin. So that's like 200 of them. So yeah, at that point I figured it was worth it to invest in a cone. I believe the cones are around 280, something like that, of the smaller pieces worth. So yeah, if you sign up for the DMC newsletter, I waited until they were having like a 25% off sale or something before I bought my cones. So then it was really worth it. Even without that discount, it was cheaper than investing in so many individual skins. But yeah, with the 25% off coupon, it was definitely worth it. So although, as I complained before, I am still disappointed you can't get 939 on a cone. And I don't know why. It's a very common color. You can get 823. You can even get 666 Christmas Red. There was a bright green I saw that I didn't realize people must use a lot. but no 939, the dark navy. I don't know why. So, yeah. In fact, one of the patterns I have, the Legend of Zelda, it's a stained glass, and so there's a lot of background, and it called for 939, but I changed it to the black, the 310. Looks fine to me on the mock-up, and yeah, since I could get that on a cone, I decided let's just do it that way instead of the navy blue. Works fine for me. Pardon me. Actually, not that bad. I got a fairly decent night's sleep last night after a couple of nights of not so good. And I'm not one of those people who can just take a nap. If I do, it messes up my nighttime sleep. I'm very envious of my husband. He can just lie down and he's got, 10, 15 minutes to take a nap. He can lie down and do it. And I cannot. He could even nap. Our son used to be in a band class, and he played the baritone, the euphonium. It's like a smaller version of a tuba. And I mean, it's not a quiet instrument. And he could sleep through our son practicing his band instrument. Like, go figure. But then I'll have my Kindle charging on the nightstand, and that tiny, tiny little charging light bothers him. He'll go over and cover it with a towel or something. And I said, how can you sleep through a freaking tuba, but not that? And he said he can't use a night mask, a sleep mask. He says he doesn't like the feel of it on his face. I use one, so little lights like that don't bug me. Oh, we all have our quirks, right? But yeah, I can only take a nap if I'm really sick. And even then it messes things up. So, yeah, unfortunately, I have to sleep at night or not at all. Yeah, my husband, I guess the military training, he's ex-military, but yeah, you had to learn to grab 10 minutes of sleep whenever you can, right? So, and in any conditions. So, yeah. When our son was little, my husband was the one who usually got up because he could get up, change the baby's diaper, give him a bottle if he needed one, put him back to sleep, come back to bed, and he's out 5-10 minutes later. If I got up, that's it. I'm probably done for the night. Even if it's 2-3 in the morning, I won't go back to sleep. So yeah, I'm very, very grateful to him for that. When I was still nursing the baby, he would get up and bring him to the bed. I'd feed him, and then my husband would burp him, change him, put him back to bed. I didn't even have to get up. So yeah, we had a really good system going there. Even now, when he was older, if our son was sick, my husband often was the one who would camp out in his room to take care of him. He's a great dad. Yeah. He said he remembers his dad doing the same thing. Get an air mattress or something, sleep on the floor, be there to catch it when the kid gets sick. Oh. Fortunately, knock on wood, cross your fingers, that hasn't happened in a long, long time. Yes, and now my son is older. He has a learner's permit. So that makes me feel very old. Just wow. Where does the time go, hey? It seems like one day you're able to pick him up and hold him on your hip with one arm. Next thing you know, they're taller than you. I mean, granted, I'm pretty short, so didn't take much for him to get taller than me, but still, it's, yeah. So one of my friends said, the days can crawl, but the years just fly. And it's very true. All right. Making some good progress here. Okay, I think this one is only long enough for one stitch. Yeah, that's what I thought when I parked it. But that works because the next instance of the stitch is kind of in the next diagonal anyway. So I will just start a new thread when I get there. That'll work just fine. Yeah, if this was longer, it's close enough I would have parked it, but it's not long enough to really do any more stitches. So we'll just end it off. Okay, and here's another thread that can be parked in the next section. Out of my way. Lots of shorter threads. This bit too short. I'll save them for when I have single stitches by themselves. They'll be perfect for that. This one will probably only be long enough for the two I've highlighted, but that's fine. And then I'll use, this was 2 trimmed strands the same length, so I'll use the other strand to do the other 2 stitches. That'll work out. Oh, it was funny. The other day, my husband was so excited, found out that Prime, Amazon Prime, was making a TV adaptation of Lord of the Rings, as he is a big fan of that book series. Settled down to watch it and realized it's just the trailer and it's not coming out till September. God darn. If you like fantasy, Amazon also is adapting the Wheel of Time book series, and Season 1 is out, and we watched it. It was very good. I haven't read the books, so I cannot attest to whether it follows the books very closely or not, but we definitely enjoyed it. It was a good, if you like fantasy stories, it was really good. We really liked that. And I looked it up. It's quite a long book series, like 13 books or something like that. So yeah, it should hopefully make for a really good long TV series. Looking forward to that. I'm really glad fantasy TV shows are catching on more. Those are fun. We also enjoyed The Magicians, which I said was kind of Harry Potter meets Chronicles of Narnia. Because yeah, it's students at a magic school, but they're like college age students. And they're studying magic. They also end up going to another magic world. So that's why I said it's like Harry Potter meets Narnia. So yeah, really enjoyed that. Although there is like, it's definitely not one you'd watch with younger kids. There's some nudity and such, so yeah. It's for grown-ups, that's for sure. It was on Prime. I don't think it is anymore. Not sure where it is now. And it's 5 seasons. They only had the first 4 before they took it down, so we ended up having to buy the DVD set because we wanted to see the last season. Pardon me. We had enjoyed it enough that we said, well, we're going to watch it more than once, so we might as well invest in the DVD anyway. Yeah, that is one complaint I've had with Amazon Prime shows. They never release stuff on DVD, and I really like owning a physical copy of things. I'm old-fashioned that way. But I do like, you pay for it once, it's yours, and you can watch it as many times as you like after that, right? Okay, where am I? Oh, did I forget to do... Or did I put it... Oh, I put that in the wrong place. Darn it. Yes, I did. I put it under instead of next to, I think. Well, let me see, what have I done? Or did I park something incorrectly? No, I was supposed to put it up here and I put it down here. Yeah, and because I did a loop start from the front, one disadvantage is I found it's pretty much, oops, impossible to undo it because of the way the loop pops to the back. I could, but I found it was just so much trouble that I couldn't be bothered to do it to save the thread. So I trim it really close, pull it out, and I'm just going to start with a new piece of thread. So I had to do that one and then park it correctly. So try again. Again, why I like to grid. It's much easier to find where I made a mistake when I have those landmarks to count from. I have an older project I abandoned from when I was a teenager because I didn't have any gridding on it and I made a mistake somewhere, but I couldn't find it. You know, you count from one side and it's correct. You count from the other side, it seems to be correct, but then you count again from the first side and it's wrong, and you count it over and over and over and it never seems to work, and I finally just tossed it aside and never finished it. Oh. Okay, now that is in the correct spot. There we go. Because yeah, when I went to do this stitch, I realized the stitch above it. Oh, for Pete's sake, I parked it without crossing it. My gosh. I spoke too soon when I said it was fixed. Oy. Third time's the charm, I hope. Yeah, because when I went to do these stitches, I picked up the thread and I realized the stitch above it was not done, and it was marked as done. It should have been done, and that's why I realized, yeah, I made a boo-boo. that is one nice thing I like with parking too, is because I do stitches sort of, you know, next to each other, you can very quickly spot when you have done something wrong. When I used to stitch cross country, sometimes you wouldn't find you'd done something wrong till days later and you got to fill in around it. Oh, yeah. That was not enjoyable to try to fix. My goodness. What the heck is going on out there? Very loud truck, and it's not garbage day. Huh. Big, looks like a big pump truck. Wonder what they're doing. Oh, it looks like it's the fiber truck. Yeah, they've been upgrading our network to fiber optic all over town. So that's what I think it is. That's the fiber pulling truck going around. Yeah, get us some faster internet. Oh, there he goes. Back down the street. Yeah, looks like they're not working on our street. They were just using our street to turn around in, maybe. Yeah, when my son was little, he absolutely loved when they were doing work on our street. Yeah, stand there and watch. It was actually pretty cute one time. They had to rip up our road to redo the pipes and stuff below it, and then repave it. So they were there for working on it for like a week, and he was just a toddler, so he was standing at the window watching them, and the guys would wave at him as they went by. It was pretty cute. Yeah. Well, he's older now. He's graduated to watching about trucks and things on YouTube, but he still loves them. He really likes the crash test videos. Then he likes to build some with his Legos and run crash tests on them himself. It's pretty cute. He'll sort of build them not very very tightly put together, so that way when they run into the table leg, they break apart. And then he'll film it with his phone in slow-mo, and then yeah, watch them break apart in slow motion. It's quite fun, actually. It catches the sound too, so the sound is pretty cool of the bricks breaking apart. So yeah. Yeah, the technology they have nowadays. Yeah, that was a lot of confetti, because usually I can get about 100 stitches done in this amount of time that I've been stitching, but we're at 90, so close but not quite. Now let's see, where am I? Just, yeah, making sure I grab the correct thread. So yeah, I've been working my way up to these 6, but I wanted to get the stitches between them done. So that means a fair amount of sort of backtracking over to the left and then working my way back up. Whatever strikes my fancy. whatever works the best. Not as disciplined as some people who work in rows. Yeah, this kind of fits my ADHD brain a bit better. Okay, so I think I'm going to wrap up this session pretty soon. So I want to thank you for joining me once again. And I hope that you enjoyed stitching with me today. And I hope you will join me again in the future. All right, thanks everybody. Bye.